I'm Glenn, Real Cast Fishing, your host. Shoot, I messed that up. Let's do that again. Welcome back to Real Cast Fishing, your host, Glenn with the City of Island Fishing Field Team, the COAF Field Team on YouTube. A little late in starting. I was going to aim for 8:30 Central, but I got delayed. We got some rain coming, so I had to make some adjustments and put the new Tacoma pickup into the garage because there's a potential for some hail tonight. So here in the next 2 hours, we may get some thunderstorms that may get us wet as well as, well, possible damage. So hopefully y'all in the area stay safe out there. Okay, let's see. This is the Real Cast Fishing Podcast, and this is the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing series. And in this round, I'll be taking us to, excuse me, the Little Red Book of Fishing series. Specific tips are going to be tips 101 to 105 this round. And then we'll kind of shift open to some open forum in case anyone has any questions, possible comments and whatnot. And then the format again is go right into the tips, talk about them, read them, talk about them, see if there's any call outs, and then we go from there. All right. And then before we go there, I just want to make sure everything is working correctly. So I'm going to go on YouTube here on my iPad and just verify that we are live. Okay. Let's see. Are we live right now? I can't tell. Okay. All right. Let me go check this other spot. Right here. This should give me a good heads up if we're live. Okay. All right, just bear with me. Okay, Field Team, YouTube, are we live or not? Are we live or is it Memorex? Yeah, we're live. Okay. And I'm just going to check real quick. Let's see, I hear something. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. We're live. All right. I'm going to go shut that piece down then and take us right into the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing series. Okay. So again, the format's going to be I read in the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing, and this is it right here. Little Red Book of, we're going to start with 101 and take us to 105, and then from there we'll open up to any possible comments, questions. Just going to open it up because, hey, we can always talk fishing. Do apologize for being a little bit late this round. As I said earlier, I had to move the little pickup back into the garage because we're going to get some potential hail storms and whatnot. And so, hey, let's stay safe and just make sure everything stays covered. All right. So the first piece, 101, easy on the grease. Whether or not to grease one's leader remains a subject of keen debate. Recent advances in subsurface photography offer clues to a solution. A grease leader coiled on the surface collects globs of light that warn fish. At the same time, a sunken leader tends to drag the fly down on pickup, necessitating frequent fly dressing. As a compromise, try greasing most of the leader while leaving the final 18 inches of tippet clean. This part should sink slightly, make it more difficult for a trout to see. Well, that's a new one for me because, well, I don't think I've put any dry fly floatant on my leader except when I'm using a line strike indicator. So, hey, but I do understand adding the extra grease on there, collecting globs of light, and give it potentially warn the fish as well as causing it to pick up some drag. Okay, I can buy that one. All right, let's go to 102. 102, right there. Accuracy above all. Okay, when contemplating the narrow cone vision of a trout that's surface feeding in relatively shallow water, two things stand out. One is that cautious angler can approach to a close position, particularly from behind. But this advantage also comes with a challenge. This narrow window, it dictates that the fly be presented precisely in the trout's line of drift. no more than a foot or so to either side and just above the edge of the window. So there you have it. Cautious approach, close to the target, short, accurate cast, trout on the line. Any questions? Sign CM. Okay. Accuracy always is a factor. And in this case, when you're talking that narrow cone of vision of the trout right here, a little bit that way, a little bit to the left or right, may cause them to ignore your fly or just they're not interested. So I can jump on that one too. In fact, I've dealt with that sight casting some trout. If I'm just a little bit off from that cone of vision, I don't get their interest and they move on. Okay, 103. Beware the wave. Beware the wave. Most anglers get in and get it when it comes to avoiding the thumping and splashing of clumsy wading. But we often forget about that little bow wave of water we push ahead of us as we move into a pool. These rings send out one leg after the other as we slowly wade can create a pulsing light, particularly on sunny days that can spook any nearby trout. Depending upon the depth and character of the current, it's often best to not enter the water at all. Trout frequently lie in soft water near shore. Try to pick those off first, then move into the pool. Okay, I can believe that one also. That's another good one. They even have a cool picture of a trout that's taken what looks like maybe a gold rib hare's-ear nymph, it looks like. Right there. Pretty cool. All right, 104, spare the rod. Spare the rod. It may seem sacrilege to think ill of an object for which we spent a king's ransom, keep cloistered in a velvet case, and flash to our friends at every opportunity. The key word here is flash, as in the sheen that sparkles from this graphite marvel when waved in sunlight. Awareness of this flare is important both in approaching and casting to a fish. Keep the rod low on approach and be aware of the sun's position during the cast. Rod flash might help explain why we often better success on overcast days, and it also might make us think that that ultra glossy finish the next time we buy a rod. Okay, well, hey, I can buy that one too. I know trout have spooked, fish have spooked in general with that little flash from the rod and you know that contrast that they see from below looking up to the water surface from below, and you got that background of the sky. Additionally, I do notice for you tenkara fishermen, I do notice a lot of offerings from the tenkara manufacturers where they do have a more less shiny or not even more of a drab colored scheme on their rods. That's probably what they're talking about here. So, hey, rack that one up to the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. They've got it in their tips book. All right. Okay, last one of tip 101, 10 through 105. Ups and matter of choice, but certain situations should be considered. Since trout generally face upstream, approach from above must be stealthy and cast made from farther away. Hook sets from above tend to pull the fly from the fish's mouth, and pickups are more likely to frighten fish. On the other hand, a downstream drift may be the only way to reach a difficult fish rising beneath an obstruction. A plus is that fly becomes the first object that appears in the fish's window, a major advantage when addressing leader-shy fish. So ups and downs, it sounds like they're recommending go with the downstream drift. I do understand what they're talking about, where a downstream drift and it comes in and you're likely to pull, when you set the hook, to pull the fly into the fish's mouth, versus if you're going the other way, you pull it out of the fish's mouth. So you may increase your hook sets there. That was another piece in Little Red Book of Fly Fishing where they talked of that piece. I can't remember what tips they were, but they're in there. I do remember them. So we're on the last one, 105. And then just as a heads up, next time we meet, we'll be going into part 3, reading water, 37 tips to help you find trout in a river and effectively cast to them. So we're going to another section. We've already gone through 2 sections now, part 1, part 2. Now we're at part 3. All right. And in that round, I believe I should be going through tips 106 to 110. And I'm hoping that hey, there's some more knowledge from a fly fishing standpoint available to you. Okay, so that opens up the floor to, hey, let's go talk fishing in general. Let's see if we've got anybody on the chat. Let's see. Looks like no questions at this point. But anyways, going to talk fishing. So I've been sidetracked a lot with the different rains and whatnot. And then I tried hitting the local lake the other weekend. And it was, I ended up having to go to a private marina because all the ramps were closed at our local lake. The water's been high. All this rain and whatnot has kind of clobbered things up. But then last weekend, they opened up 5 of them over here at our local lake, Lake Laban. And there, I did go to one of my favorite places, Highland Park. That boat ramp offers some easy access. The bait tends to be at the boat ramp consistently. So I can just bring my cast net and I can get what I need to do some jug lining or possibly doing some trolling and whatnot. Well, this last time, I went jug lining. I posted some videos on some of that action, and it ended up being one. I ended up having one on the line, took that one home, did a little catch and cook deal there. But I did have several other strikes where I ended up losing them as I was bringing them in. You got to keep that line tight when you're bringing in a jug line. If you have any slack as you bring it up, there's a good possibility that that catfish is going to get off. Additionally, I did have several where it took the jug underwater and I had to chase it down. But unfortunately, when I pulled or picked up the jug, the bait was still there. And what I tend to notice is when that happens, that's typically a gar mouthing it and it's running with it and then it's letting it go. In those cases, I probably should just let it sit because the gar will come back and eat it. So keep that in your pocket. The other thing is I did have some where they stole the bait. And even though I saw it shook violently on the surface, I seen them take it and I went to go check it and the bait was gone. That is typically when it's a white bass. And I did see several schools of white bass actually boiling on the surface. So unfortunately, I didn't bring any casting gear and slab and jig rigs to take advantage of that. But it's to know that, hey, there are some white bass that are feeding on the surface. Just key thing that I noticed as a rule of thumb is as long as I can go to a point that's wind blown and there's some wave or some kind of current activity and there's shad there, I typically have a good chance of catching a white bass or two or more, sometimes limiting out as well. So that's what I was working on this past few weeks here, some kayak fishing, jug lining, as well as trolling. I am working on getting some more underwater video shots. I've got 2 underwater videos, the Go Fish camera, and then I've got I forgot the name of it. Wild Wolf camera. Yeah. The version 2.0. I had 1.0 and I ended up losing it. So stay tuned for that one. And what I'm looking for is just put some bait on there, drop it into the water and possibly see what may be lurking there. All right. So, and it's mainly some of the ponds that are local here. And what I've noticed, like last year when I took one out and I took it over here to our local lake or local pond, Bethany Lakes, that they stock normally during the trout stocking season in November of each year, December of each year. Lo and behold, May, June time frame when I baited up a hook and put it on the end of that camera and dumped it into the water and let it sink. When I checked the video later, lo and behold, I saw 2 trout come through there. So there is a good possibility there's some holdover trout in that little pond. It is fairly deep, and I think it is spring fed as well. So it's cool enough to stay cool over the warm months. But at least I saw 2 on camera that have been there, as well as I've heard some other folks catch them at various times in the year, later in the year, still lurking in that pond. So just heads up. And I personally have caught one back in May, I think, of the year, working one of the other ponds that kind of was a runoff there. Anyhow, do y'all have any questions? Excuse me. This is the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing series. You just went through 101 through 105, and we're getting ready to shift over to part 3, which is going to take us into more tips, and it'll go through 106 to 110 is what I plan on doing this next round, probably in the next week. In between there, sorry. In between there, do look for some of I've been doing these dad jokes. I mean, there's been some really funny dad jokes that are out there that I've been pretty much enjoying as well. And then I've been cutting up some of the different action shots of yours truly fishing and trying to get some of those YouTube shorts just to point out a particular tip or nice to know. And then I plan on looking for that window in time where I can just do another one of those mobile fishing live streams where I just take the phone, put it on the chest harness, secure it in place, put on a lav mic, and just start fishing. And basically, you see what I got. Some days I strike out. Some days I do catch some nice stuff. All on the fly with the mobile live streaming going on. So, all right. And then I'm just going to check the chat window here real quick and see if we've got anyone talking. Okay, doesn't look like it right now. Okay, well, anyways, a couple of questions that came by since we last met. One was related to a 2.5 horsepower Suzuki outboard motor that yours truly has. And in fact, I've got to go remember to go check the manufacturer for it. But I've got the manual here. And the question was, with the 2.5 Suzuki horsepower motor, outboard motor, little kicker motor that I have, they were asking if it was made in Japan. And what I found out is it's made in 3 places: Japan, Thailand, as well as China. And I've just got to go check to make sure if mine is made in Thailand or China or Japan. This says it's printed in Thailand, but I got to go look at the manufacturer plate to see. What's your favorite fish to catch? Season-wise, in the winter, trout and striped bass. In the summer, striped bass. And from a saltwater perspective, basically some shark fishing that I enjoy, as well as some bull reds that we picked up. So I don't have a favorite fish other than, depending on the season, is where I adjust to. And that's Anthony. All right. Appreciate the question. All right. Another one of the questions that came in offline was related to fishing the Guadalupe River down in South Texas with their New Braunfels area. It's a year-round trout fishery that is the furthest south over here in the U.S. And well, this time of year it's pretty hard to get the trout because it's really hot. But you can try the tail race area. I just don't know if they're generating or flowing water, releasing water. I heard something about repairs and whatnot that may have hung up things. But I have, at about this time of year, caught some trout in that area, fishing deeper in that faster water, just where the water is cooler. But typically I'll shift over from a Guadalupe River standpoint to fishing for the Guadalupe bass, as well as some of the bluegill and long-eared perch. All right, let's see. Anthony, I like freshwater bass fishing. Oh, I do too. Bass fishing's fun, but I tend to that's sort of like the fish that keeps me going, because I can always have a good chance of catching, be it a small or a big one, in these local ponds that we have here. Plus, during the February, March time frame, during the spawn, that's when you kind of get some of those bruisers out there, especially working some of the bass on beds. We got a lot of trout fishing around Virginia. All right, cool. I used to live in Virginia, but I didn't do any trout fishing. I mainly stuck with fishing saltwater over there in Virginia Beach, Lynn Haven Inlet, that area. Even as well doing some crabbing and catching some of the spot that they had there. That was pretty fun. Let's see. Did do catch some carp. I can't remember, but further up away from Virginia Beach, closer to the D.C. area, one of the suburbs there. I was able to do some carp fishing there using some corn, and that was pretty fun too as well. Using some ultralight gear. I think we were going with some of that 2-4 pound test and basic corn with no weight, just pretty much free lining it and letting it run through this one particular feeder creek into a pond that we were fishing. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments? I am here. Do bear with, I do apologize again. We started the call late. Big thing being that we had to go and secure things down because we're supposed to be getting some thunderstorms or rainstorms that may include some hail, and we just want to make sure that we don't have any damage to some of the stuff that we have. All right. Let's see. I do owe an answer on the mail on that Suzuki 2.5 horsepower. Where is it made, or the one at least I have? And then other than that, I'm trying to remember if there's another question that came in. No, I can't remember one. Oh well. Anyways, this time of year. I did have one person give me a heads up. They went and hit Lake Eufaula Dam, the tail race there, and they were releasing water, and the bite was on, but it was some smaller stripers, and they were using some kind of crappie jig with a grub that had a corkscrew tail, and so the normal jig and fly rigs that we like using for striped bass didn't work for us that round, or at least for that individual. But good to know that, hey, that's another one to try. And then additionally, the Denison Dam tail race, our local tail race to Lake Texoma. That one, I've been hearing some good things about some fish being caught there. Additionally, on the lake itself, lake proper, the Texoma area, or lake, heard some good news there as well. Just keep in your back pocket that when you fish the Texoma area, you have to have a fishing license specific to Texoma, the lake itself. And then if you fish the tail race section, if you fish between the dam to Shawnee Creek and stay on shore on the Texas side, you can fish with a Texas resident or Texas fishing license. If you go into the water, or if you go on the other side, the Oklahoma side, you're going to need an Oklahoma fishing license. Additionally, as a rule of thumb, check the regulations, but I believe it applies to all Corps of Engineer lakes, that any dam tail race that you have to have for striped bass, your own stringer with your tag. In the case of the tag, that's going to be your customer number that's on your fishing license. So name, customer number from your fishing license, put it on the stringer, and fish your striped bass. Just make sure that you keep them on your stringer versus sharing stringers. And additionally, there's no culling. So once you put on that stringer, once you put it in that ice chest, you can't put it back. All right. Okay. Let's see. Other things, nice to knows. Let's see. Going back to our run up to Lower Illinois River in Oklahoma, that was a couple of weeks ago or so, 2-3 weeks ago. The trout are biting there. Unfortunately, the striped bass weren't, but we did see some other folks catching them on some rooster tails. The trout consistently have been good for us. Every time we go there, been able to limit out, or we would have limited out, except we just released them instead. Let's see. Big takeaway there was I was using tandem rigs, 3 to 4 foot under the strike indicator, using a olive near deer as a lead fly and a trailing San Juan squirmy worm, San Juan worm, as the trailing fly. And all my hits were on that trailing fly. And I think in the past I've seen that happen before, where I think in past instances we've gone there fishing flies as well as power worms, and it just seems to be that worm pattern seems to be consistent. The lead fly is mainly just to get the worm down to the money zone where the trout are lurking. All right. Okay. Oh, and there was one question between what's the preference, Lower Illinois River Lower Mountain Fork, the one at Beavers Bend State Park, further west, or correction, further east, closer to the Arkansas-Oklahoma border. Which one we prefer? I prefer Lower Illinois River, mainly because I do have the opportunity for striped bass. Plus, it seems to be easier for yours truly to catch trout there. Beavers Bend, depending on the time of year, the warm part of the year, it seems to be harder for yours truly to hook up with them versus in the wintertime. Colder months, I tend to do better at Beavers Bend. But, hey, it's fishing. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. All right. Let's see. I do have in my back pocket a couple of things that I keep on the fly that I hope to be posting as I get the opportunity to do so. I've got a center pin reel set up where I want to try doing a float and just basically dead drift it into some current flow and see what will bite there. Additionally, I do have the DIY inline spinner series where I make these inline spinners and just make them really light because I'm using Bait Finesse gear, ultralight bait casting, and using that to see what strikes, and that's been pretty fun. The other thing is just pretty much these quick tie, fly tie, where I just come up with a pattern or I go with an old pattern or make a variant of it and turn around and take that out to a local pond and whatnot. More likely on the mobile fishing live stream so that you can see it happen real time. Hit or miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But do stay tuned for some of those because those tend to be pretty fun. Yeah. From a kayak fishing standpoint, I am kind of debating should I try doing a live stream from the kayak, but I tend to not want to bring my phone in the kayak just in case I take a dunking. Instead, what I do is I have a GoPro as well as another. It's called a contour camera that I mount ahead of me or in front of me, and then I have another one as a point of view GoPro. And both of those are either water resistant or waterproof, so I don't have to worry about a dunking. They'll still survive a dunking in the water. And stay tuned for those. Usually those I'll do an edited version, be it a long form version or a shorts version. Let's see, 4th of July weekend is going to be coming up. I've got some honeydews as well as some day job stuff. So I'm not sure how I'm going to be fishing that weekend. And then this next weekend here locally, there's a big event that we like going to where there's some fireworks and whatnot in preparation for the 4th of July celebrations the next week. We kind of do it early here in the city of Allen by about a week before the actual 4th of July. So I'll be there, but I do plan on getting at least a video out on some underwater video. I've got the Go Fish camera back there, and then I got that Water Wolf camera in my go-to backpack piece that I'm hoping I can throw on some bait or a lure, fly maybe, and just kind of float it out there and just see what goes by. All right. Let me see. Hold up, I'll go grab it real quick. All right, this is the Go Fish camera. They don't offer this anymore. The company ceased manufacturing these. Okay, and I've modified mine to where it has a little float piece here that allows it to kind of sit more of this angle versus up like this. And then I've got a leader made out of some, weed eater line. And then I've got a hook on here that I've got protecting it right now. And what I tend to do is just bait this one up, drop it in the water, and just see what goes by. So I've got that one standing by, and additionally I've got the Water Wolf camera, which is very similar to this one, but it won't have the float. Instead, I'll just attach a float above it, keep it at a certain depth, and then I'll bait up some line, a hook and line, and again, just see what happens. I've had several good videos where I'm seeing a couple of things, bass that I didn't know were there that were nice size bass, and then additionally been able to Let's see. It was one where I kept getting a bunch of turtles stealing my bait. And lo and behold, after several takes, I was able to see and even slow down the camera or the video to see what they were doing and how they were stealing it. And what was consistent was, and maybe this is a learned thing that turtles do, is they would take the bait, all right, and they take a piece of the bait right here, staying away from the hook, and then they would take their, I don't know, flipper, foot, paw, and knock this out. And after about 2-3 hits, they would be able to pull the bait off. And I saw this consistently, and then I posted a video of it, so you get a good idea. But hey, that might explain sometimes if you're something stealing your bait, you're feeling the pickup, you're seeing your line go out, and then you find out that, hey, where'd the bait go? And who stole my bait? The other thing is I've done this before where there's a lot of turtles in a particular pond, and I've hooked them by the paw. And that video explained it when I took the underwater video and reviewed it. And it explains that they were holding on to that bait and they were using that paw or foot to knock out the hook off the bait, and somehow when they did that, they hooked onto their hand, their paw or whatever, foot, and that probably explains why I've hooked some trout in that matter in the past. So keep that in your back pocket. Do check out that video. I think I got it. Turtles Are Smart COAF or something, or Turtles COAF. You probably will see that video pop up, and it give you a good idea how they are stealing the bait. Okay, I think that's pretty much all we got this round. Do stay tuned. We're going to do another Real Cast Fishing podcast. That one will be a fishing ramblings one, so it's just pretty much open forum, so you can just talk fishing, comment fishing, ask questions and whatnot, and maybe I have an answer, maybe I don't. Maybe I can go find out for you what that answer is. And then also just give you some more updates on some of the fishing happenings that yours truly and the team have been doing. And then next one's gonna be that Little Red Book of Fly Fishing series. This one right here. This time we went through 101 to 105 this round. Next time it's gonna be 106 to 110. All right. Appreciate all y'all joining. And until next time, we'll catch y'all later. And good luck and good fishing.